What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, I was able to reach expert in the Go Battle League very early on this season with this fantastic Diggersby team. Diggersby recently got buffed with Fire Punch, and pairing it with Galarian Corsola and Shadow Feraligatr made me have a 17, 7, and 1 day where I climbed nearly into the 2800s and reached expert this season. If you want to see my battles live, I stream almost every single day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. I'd love to see you there. You can see live insights into my gameplay and potentially see my teams early. The link to that is in the description. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what Diggersby can do. Alright, getting right on into game number one. Diggersby in the lead up against a Shadow Drapion. This is a very good lead matchup. We have to keep in mind our backline is a little bit weak to this Pokemon, so I want to keep this off of our backline at all costs. I do have Scorching Sands that can one-shot them, but Aqua Tail from this opposing Shadow Drapion could start adding up quite quickly. They are very spammy with the Poison Stings and with these Aqua Tails, so we'll see what they want to do. I'm going to bait a Fire Punch as well. It would be a risky no-shield from our opponent, but they actually end up no-shielding the attack. That's kind of bad for us right now, but at this point, at the very least, we are able to reach another Fire Punch before they can knock us out with two Aqua Tails. This next one does put us pretty low, and we throw another Fire Punch. They end up catching, it looks like, on a Gliscor. Very good catch by our opponent here, but Fire Punch is not Scorching Sands. That would be the proper move to throw one way or another here. We do have access to our Galarian Corsola that can come in here, throw a Nightshade, get a shield from this Pokemon, and potentially still win this game using our Corsola's bulk here to try to work its way through this matchup. They did end up showing that move. They might have Night Sash. It could just be an Earthquake, though, that's about to come through. Either way, I know Corsola is pretty bulky. I can no-shield this, survive, and either astonish them down or threaten them to throw more energy before we are able to. They do opt to throw energy here. I'm going to farm them down with our Shadow Feraligatr or potentially with our Diggersby, depending on where I think the energy is going to be more useful, but it looks like Gator is going to be the option to have all this energy on. They end up coming in instantly with their Shadow Drapion. They don't want to give us a farm down. Bit of a smart play by our opponent here, but Aqua Tail here going to get shielded, and now if I can, I'm going to catch the next move on our Diggersby. We have a lot of energy on Shadow Gator. We have a shield. We are also going to be able to farm this down even more. They actually end up going for a bit of an undercharge on that crunch, meaning now I have a Fire Punch as well loaded up. If they try to come in with that Gliscor, I'm going to throw my energy. Either way, I kind of have to just throw the Fire Punch instantly. I'm going to get farmed down if I don't. They come in with a superior of all things. I have the Fire Punch ready to go. I have a ton of energy on our Feraligatr in the backline. They could potentially catch on us here this game, which could be kind of bad depending on what ends up happening, but I think we're going to be in a good spot because Hydro Cannon might be enough to knock them out. They actually make the catch, though, on this Shadow Gliscor. That is kind of bad for us right now. I have to hope that two Hydro Cannons will be enough this game. I'll be able to outpace them here to the two Hydras. Actually, it'll be a CMP, but I will win the CMP. These Hydro Cannons need to be enough to knock out the Superior. If it is, I can win this game. If not, our opponent played very well, and we are just barely able to get the knockout on that Superior before they're able to take us out there. Next matchup, one of the worst leads we could probably see, but we have two Pokemon with Ghost-type Fast Move Pressure in the backline, so I'm going to instantly swap out to our Shadow Feraligatr and get met by a Dunsparce. Dunsparce obviously is able to resist Shadow Claw, but Hydro Cannon is one of the best moves in the game. You can see that 2 will be able to knock out this Dunsparce here, which is going to mean that we get our hands on a shield advantage this game, which is going to be very useful potentially for the backline matchup. Also, because we have baited out this Dunsparce here, potentially we're in a very good position where our Corsola in the backline is going to be a little bit less hard countered. This next Hydro Cannon going to come through, get a shield from our opponent, and then they end up throwing energy, not quite realizing that I was not at the next Hydro Cannon. Our opponent wastes a little bit of energy here, but that's fine. Our Diggersby, one way or another, could farm this all the way down and have energy for the backline, but our opponent opts to not give us the farm down. They come in with their Azumarill now, but the thing is, I know there's that Annihilate in the backline. Honestly, this is not as bad of a matchup as that Annihilate is going to be. This is where I think my Diggersby is going to have the most play. With that said, that Dunsparce in the backline is still alive. It's going to resist our Astonishes from our Corsola, but they are down a shield. We can probably farm down this Azumarill at some point as well and put our Corsola in a position where we are not that worried about the Dunsparce and where we can knock out the Shadow Annihilate later on this game. Next, Scorching Sands is going to come through. I'd love a debuff, but both of them look like they have not debuffed this Azumarill. They will easily knock us out with this next charge move, but because I know we've done so much damage, we can probably shield farm down and potentially have enough energy for the backline right now. Might not even shield this matchup. It's going to be kind of interesting to see where the shields need to go this game, because I know that I would take a lot of damage from Rage Fist potentially. Maybe I need to save shields for that. I also know this is just an Ice Beam, not going to do too much damage. They come back in with that Dunsparce. They don't have too much energy on it. I can go for this Power Gem, either knock them out, draw their final shield. Let's see what they want to do. They tried to call a Nightshade bait. Unfortunately for them, we had way too much energy, way too many shields. Not much they could do against our Galarian Corsola in the back. Alright, next game, in Azumarill in the lead. We did just see Diggersby put in quite a bit of work against this, but I mean, if I can help it, I don't want to be locked into that matchup. We end up safe swapping our Shadow Feraligatr and getting met by a Charger Bug. One of the most awkward matchups here that we could see with our Shadow Gator, because they have super effective Volt Switch damage. They are very spammy as well, but because Shadow Gator is so powerful, it has a lot of fast move and charge move pressure, I'm pretty sure I can can flip this matchup if I need to. They go for the X Scissor here. I go for yet another Hydro Cannon, and potentially I'm either going to knock them out or draw a shield. They might survive this on 1 HP if they want to let it go, but our opponent does not take that chance. They end up throwing a charge move as well, a massive mistake, giving us an extra Shadow Claw, which means that now I can throw one more Shadow Claw, not take that Volt Switch damage, and get the next Hydro Cannon off, flipping switch advantage this game, and making it so our Diggersby gets to avoid that Azumarill, and potentially our Corsola is going to be able to put in a lot of work this game. What is their final Pokemon going to be, though? Well, it's going to be a Wigglytuff. This Pokemon is going to be very neutral into our Diggersby, but it is going to be a little bit awkward right now. I think as long as I can get a debuff with Scorching Stance, I should be in a very good spot, but if I can't, maybe we can still win this game as long as an Icy Wind plus a Fast Food Pressure doesn't knock out our Diggersby too soon. No debuff here from our Scorching Stance, unfortunately, but this Icy Wind is not going to knock us out either. Azumarill, if it ever comes back in, will make it so I have to instantly swap out to our Corsola. Our opponent opting to stay in, taking a debuff Scorching Stance on their Charmer right now. This is going to do a decent chunk, but not enough to knock them out after that debuff. They end up swapping out there. We did get the attack drop, but unfortunately, it was a little too late. They swapped out, cleared their debuff, and come in with this Azumarill here. This is a good matchup for Corsola, but in the Zero Shields, it's actually way closer than you might like it to be. These two play roughs don't quite two-shot us, but after the bubble damage, it is going to come quite close. I have the next Nightshade loaded right now. This will put them into range where the next one plus a couple more Astonishes should KO the Azumarill, but I have to keep in mind there is a potential chance that after they land this move and after I land my next move, they could charm me down, snipe down my Corsola with their Wigglytuff, and that would be absolutely catastrophic here because then they could bubble and charm down my Diggersby. So I'm going to call in just a second here that they're going to swap, but our opponent, they wait, and instead they go for bubbles here, unfortunately not able to get the knockout before they can bubble us down. I think I just kind of threw that game, but I guess I might have overthought it there. I thought they might have tried to swap out. I tried to anticipate the play. GG's to them. All right, next matchup, a Magnezone in the lead, though. Fantastic lead. They say swap a Jumpluff. As I was saying, Grass type, one of the most awkward typings for this team to deal with, but Fire Punch recently got buffed. We have Quick Attack, Fast Food Pressure, and after tripping this thing down, this is in range where a Power Gem will easily knock them out, especially after these Astonishes, and I know that Magnezone has almost nowhere to go against our Diggersby, and they don't want to take a Nightshade either, which I think after that chip damage with our Diggersby, we should actually be able to overfarm here, potentially reach a move against both this Jumpluff and then that Magnezone later on this game. They are throwing Energy Balls, it looks like. No Acrobatics from this Jumpluff. Likely that means they have Aerial Ace, so I want to throw a move before they can potentially chip me down even lower here. I want to be able to get some Astonish damage off against that Magnezone. I'm not even going to bait a Nightshade. I don't know if it would have been enough to knock out there. I know, though, at this point, it's such a difference, like a small difference in energy, that is, that I would be able to get to the Nightshade anyway, even if I went for Power Gem against that Jumpluff. We reach the Power Gem against the Jumpluff and then the Nightshade against that Magnezone. They swap out here to their Shadow Drifblim, and while this is a little bit of a scary Pokemon, knowing that a Shadow Drifblim can, in fact, two-shield through my Shadow Feraligatr, I know that we can trip it down enough at this point where our Diggersby can close out this game. Our opponent opting to go for a full two-shield farm down. This is an interesting play. It means that they're not going to debuff my attack stat, so these Shadow Claws are doing so much damage, but I can't Quick Attack this down. I will have to throw a Fire Punch here, but I have two shields. They can't have 3 moves loaded. In fact, they're going to take 4 more Astonishes if they want to get to that 3rd charge move. So at this point, as long as a catch doesn't happen, I can Fire Punch this Drifblim, Fire Punch that Magnezone, and I should be in a very good spot this game. Icy Wind number 2 ends up getting shielded, and then Magnezone tries to combo play me, but I mean, the thing is, this is just a wild charge at most. This isn't going to do much to us. Yeah, we survived that so easily. We can just get to 2 charge moves. Our opponent at that point realizing not much that they could do. GG's to them. Next game up against Potto Man in the 2800s here. Very big up pair from our opponent. In comes the Annihilate Bleed, and then once again, in answer to our Shadow Feraligatr with this Charge Bug, this is going to be a very awkward game depending on how they play this out. I want to get a shield advantage here, but our opponent actually opting to let that move through. At this point, I'm going to do an interesting play where I know I could potentially flip switch advantage, but I know energy on our Diggersby could also be very helpful. I'm just hoping they don't have a hard answer to our Corsola in the backline, but honestly, it is pretty likely that they do, given how weak they've been to it so far. They're going to throw an X-Scissor at our Diggersby, but we have a lot of energy on our Diggersby as well. We have a Scorching Sands ready to go against this Annihilate. This is going to be able to put them into range where another charge move could knock them out, potentially even a Fire Punch after a little bit more fast food pressure. So I will throw that move, try to get a shield advantage, and force them to shield a Pokemon that doesn't have as much play into our Corsola as they probably would like. Fire Punch ends up drawing the shield, and they do have a lot of energy here, but I get yet another Astonish against them, and in the backline matchup, we are just completely hard countered this game. They have a Shadow Drapion. With that said, I know we have a shield advantage. damage. I know Power Gem is a very powerful move, and Astonish is adding up despite the fact that it is doing resisted damage. I think there's a chance we can win this game. I just have to keep our Corsola alive, potentially win this matchup, and then try to either get a Fire Punch against that Annihilate, or maybe just farm them down with our Corsola if we can somehow get out of here. They end up throwing a Crunch. I have to no-shield at this point, and I have to try our best to fast move farm down this if I can, or potentially draw the shield here. If they shield this up, I can farm them down with Diggersby, Fire Punch the Annihilate. If they don't shield, I guess we just farm down with Corsola. They end up not getting to 2 moves here, and at this point, we can farm down the Annihilate and take the win there. GG's to our opponent. That was a very tricky game. All right, next matchup, Diggersby into Diggersby in the lead. This is a very good lead matchup because I don't want this anywhere near my backline. I have Ghost-type fast moves on both my Corsola and my Shadow Alligator, meaning that this is our best case scenario to kind of deal with this Diggersby. They do get the win on the CMP here, which means they might get that 30% debuff chance first, but luckily no debuff does come through. Our Scorching Sands is going to fire off in return. Hopefully I get the debuff. The first person to get the debuff wins this matchup so incredibly hard, but it looks like in this matchup both of us are avoiding that debuff here. I'm going to throw once again. They do once again win CMP, so if it is a coin flip, I've lost it twice in a row. If it's not, then they're just winning CMP against us. But he's into range where the next Scorching Sands will knock us out. With that said, I don't really care about winning this matchup. All I need is to whittle this thing down as much as possible. I can get the Fire Punch off right before they get the next Scorching Sands. I know at this point Fire Punch won't knock them out, but it should put them into a range where I can either Astonish or Shadow Claw down later on. Fire Punch ends up putting them very low here. Our opponent ends up throwing a Scorching Sands, and now I'm pretty sure we can Shadow Claw this down before they get to a Scorching Sands, or maybe even Astonish down. Yeah, Shadow Claw down though. Gonna potentially put a lot of pressure on our opponent having this much energy on Shadow Alligator. They come in with a Gator of their own. This is one of the best things that we could see as well, because they've already had one very hard answer to our Corsola. They have another Pokemon with Shadow Claw, so I'm hoping their final Pokemon is not going to be all that strong against our Corsola. I know that they came in here with this matchup, right? So there's a good chance that our Shadow Alligator is going to have a lot of play into the backline. I'm going to keep it alive, shield it up, and in the back we're going to see yet another answer to our Corsola, actually. It's going to be a Dark-type Pokemon, Malamar. Foul Play is going to do quite a bit of damage to our Corsola, but we have so much energy from that farm down against the Diggersby with our Shadow Alligator. We can get to yet another move before they're even able to get to 1 here. I can swap out now, force them to throw a Foul Play into our Corsola, and I think at this point we just kind of win the game as long as they aren't able to get too much damage off with this Malamar. Foul Play does come through, but unless they can get to a second one here, my Nightshade is about to land. It's going to put them into a range where I can Shadow Claw down, maybe even Astonish down, and that the Gator in the back on their end is so low that I can either Shadow Claw down, or maybe even land a charge move if I need to. Our opponent ends up swapping out, actually, trying to Shadow Claw us all the way down, but not quite able to do it before we Astonish them down because of how efficient of a fast move Astonish is, able to outpace the damage and win the game there. Another Diggersby in the lead. It looks like another very neutral matchup about to play out here. I, once again, am hoping for debuffs on my side, no debuffs on their side. As long as I neutralize this Diggersby, though, I am going to be in a very good position. Looks like we do end up winning CMP this time, which is good to know. I have a pretty high rank one, so it's not super common, and we get the attack drop, so this mirror matchup playing out as perfectly as possible. I'm hoping that they don't get the debuff, but at this point, since I got mine, I can kind of afford them getting a debuff as well, but they don't even get it, so this mirror matchup is playing out so incredibly well for us this time. Next Scorching Sand's going to come through. This is going to put them at about a third of their health into a range where the next Scorching probably would knock them out as long as they don't get another debuff here, but there's a chance they might get a debuff on the second move. Let's see if it happens. Looks like this time, yeah, they do get their debuff back in return, which does kind of even things out here. I can't quite knock them out yet, so instead I'm going to overfarm, build up to as much energy as I can before they're going to be able to throw a Fire Punch against us, just so I have energy for the backline in case I need to ship whatever is in the back. Next Scorching Sands thrown on CMP with a Fire Punch here. This is going to knock them out if they let it through. Do they want to save their Diggersby? No, they let it go, and in comes a Shadow Alligator. This is why I overfarmed. I want to not give this Gator too much energy, but I also want to get as much damage or a shield from them as I can. We get yet another debuff on this thing. That's fantastic, but honestly, I think Shadow Gator is still going to be very useful this game. I don't want to take a Hydro Cannon, even if it's debuffed, because I know in the 2-shield matchup, I can come out of this with almost no damage taken. Our opponent opts to come in with a Toxapex, so a very weak team so far from our opponent to a potential Corsola in the backline. Hopefully Corsola is going to have some play here, but with that said, we have switch-locked ourselves in against this Toxapex with our Shadow Alligator, which means that this is going to be a bit of a waste of one of our best Pokemon. I can reach yet another move here. We throw on CMP, and if they let this go, it's not going to knock them out, but it's going to put them so low at this point where I know I can fast move farm them down. They do end up letting it through. They CMP us, so this move is going to knock out our Gator potentially, unless it's a Brine. Maybe I can survive. We actually survive on 1 HP here, and we both simul swap here to Corsola and Shadow Alligator. This is going to be a very close race to the finish right now. I know we need to just go for fast moves because at this point, I'm not going to be able to knock out that Toxapex with a charge move. We have a shield left over. Maybe I can get to 2 Nightshades, but they are going to get another Hydro Cannon off here. Maybe there's a chance I can get these charge moves, but I think this Hydro Cannon is going to put us low enough they can Shadow Claw us down. In comes this Nightshade here. It doesn't really matter that I throw this. Once again, they have a shield, and I think that next Night Slash, or Shadow Claw rather, is going to knock us out. I'm going to come in with Shadow Gator, and I'm going to have to hope that we can actually outpace the damage against his Toxapex. No, it's going to be a simul KO here. Diggersby and Toxapex both fast moving each other down at the same exact time. GG's to our opponent there. Very close match. Next game, one of the best leads we can see, a Thunderfang Steelix. We don't actually have a strong answer to Malamar with this team, but I know that Diggersby is not all that bad in this matchup, especially if they throw energy early. Like, sure, they can superpower if they want to, but it's almost certainly just going to be a foul play. They wouldn't want to switch lock themselves in with a debuff like that. So now that they've thrown energy here, I can go for the Scorching Sands, potentially come in with our Shadow Feraligatr and make something happen here with our energy into that Steelix later on this game. I know they have a lot of energy on this Malamar. They will reach a charge move before I will, but I can shield this up, build up as much energy as I need to, and make sure that I can reach moves against that Steelix to get my shields back later on this game. We've already seen a Steelix, we've seen a Malamar. There's a lot of things that could be in the back. I'm thinking maybe a fighter like an Annihilate potentially could be back there, so keeping switch advantage could be very critical for us winning this matchup. It seems like Steelix users love having switch advantage in their favor, but fortunately for me, we are able to keep it this game. Hydro Cannon number 1 comes to, can I get a second one off before getting Thunderfang down? 1 HP surviving, getting off this Hydro Cannon is going to either draw another shield or get almost a knockout against his Steelix. Our opponent opts to shield it up. Fantastic for us right now, because I know Diggersby is in a very good position here. They don't have charge moves that can even come close to threatening me. Their fast moves do nothing, and there it is, the Annihilate in the backline. A Pokemon or Corsola will love to see. Our opponent realizing not much they can do there, and we get the win that game. GG's to them. Next matchup, going to see a Guzzlord up against our Diggersby. A very good matchup here because our backline is pretty weak to this Pokemon, and Diggersby has a very strong neutral matchup here. If they want to throw in good timing, they have to let us throw first, so I can potentially get a debuff against them before they're going to be able to throw a move here. And we actually do. Fantastic news, because now these Brutal Swings and these Dragon Tails are going to do almost nothing to us. Brutal Swing comes through, puts us almost at about half health, but these are doing almost nothing after that debuff, right? I can take another one very easily, get to another Scorching Sands, and make them throw a third charge move against us if they want to take us out before we can get to that next Scorching Sands. This is going to be a very good matchup for us if it's going to be a team similar to what I ran yesterday or a couple days ago with a Clodsire and potentially a Shadow Feraligatr in the back, especially with the shield advantage here and with how low this Guzzlord is. I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot. With that said, I don't know exactly how we're going to finish off this Guzzlord. We only have Ghost-type damage in the backline. I'm going to have to take a lot of resisted damage, or I guess neutral damage here, from this Guzzlord while I'm doing resisted damage to them. They actually opt, though, to swap out instantly from their Guzzlord to their Shadow Feraligatr. That's an interesting play. It means that there definitely could be a Clodsire in the backline. That's kind of what I'm expecting right now. Could be that team that I ran the other day. I'm going to go instantly for the Nightshade, either get a knockout or put them into fast move farm down range, or maybe get their final shield. They opt to let it go, and I'm going to come in with our Shadow Feraligatr, get a full Shadow Claw down, and see what our opponent has in the back. If it's going to be, oh, it's not a Clodsire, it's going to actually be a Corsola of their own here, so they are so weak to Wigglytuff actually with this team. I at least respected it with one of my Pokemon, but this opposing person would just kind of lose to a single Wigglytuff. With that said, Hydro Cannon does a ton of damage. I can get to another one here, but I am worried about my health getting very low at this point, because I do have a Guzzlord in the backline I still have to deal with as well. They end up letting their Corsola go, knowing that I do have 2 Hydro Cannons, and now it's going to be a fast move farm down race. Can I get the Astonish down before I get Dragon Tail down here? Looks like our Corsola can win that fast move race and get us to Expert here, all the way up to 2760 on a 4-0-1 set. Fantastic stuff there. One of the earliest Experts I've got in really any season here, and we're going to keep on going though. This was not the end of the video. That's just the end of getting to Expert. We are going to keep on climbing here with this Diggersby team potentially against this Azumarill right now. It is a very bad lead matchup, but safe swapping Shadow Gator into Azumarill is always a very awkward thing for our opponent. Looks like I might have actually gone for a CMP here. Very risky play by me, but getting that CMP means that these switch clocks are going to be incredibly desynced right now. If they swap out, then I'm going to be able to swap out very soon after and make it so they are in a bit of a catch-up game where they're trying to always chase down my Pokemon that I'm swapping out of. They end up staying in, though, so now that I've thrown 3 charge moves, or 2 charge moves on my side, 1 charge move on their side, the switch clocks are almost all the way back up in my favor. They come in with a Diggersby, a Pokemon that I would love to land a Hydro Cannon into, but I'm almost certain we're going to see a shield come out of our opponent right now, and if they do, I will swap back to my Diggersby, avoid that Azumarill, and hope that we don't get debuffed by a Scorching Sands early on in this matchup. They end up throwing a move, almost certainly a Scorching Sands. I guess it could be a Hyper Beam or a Fire Punch, but no, just a Scorching Sands coming through. Doesn't get that debuff on the first one. We're going to throw one of our own. I'm hoping for a debuff, but I'm not expecting it right now. We've been pretty lucky with that today. Scorching Sands ends up landing, no debuff as we were expecting, and this could be an interesting endgame, seeing how they want to play this out. They can swap to their Azu pretty soon at this point. 3 more charge moves have been thrown, so we'll see if they want to swap out, or if they're just going to stick in, or if they're going to swap to another Pokemon. Here we're going to see a Drifblim in the backline. This is a little bit scary. I can throw Fire Punch to kind of stop these switch clocks, but this is looking kind of awkward. I'm going to come in with our own Corsola here, and just hope that I can make this right call. I'm going to expect an Icy Wind bait, but if they do end up going for a Shadow Ball, I'm hoping I can Shadow Claw down with with our Gator, or if they do Icy Wind bait us here, then maybe I can get a full Astonish down, or at the very least get a shield against this thing before getting knocked out. This is going to be an interesting call from our opponent right now. They end up going for the no shield and coming in with their Diggersby. I know we're debuffed, I know we're switch locked into one of the worst matchups possible with our Galarian Corsola, because we only have resisted moves at best to throw against this, but I am in a very good spot one way or another. I know our Gator can match up against that Azumarill later on, and we are going to be able to line up our Diggersby once again into their Diggersby. We have a little bit of energy, but they smartly overfarmed to almost 100 energy here. Scorching Sands does end up knocking us out, but our Diggersby can come in, go for a Fire Punch, and try our best to chip this thing down. If they end up shielding this, then maybe I can even just invest everything into our Shadow Feraligatr at this point, knowing that if I can reach a Hydro Cannon against this Pokemon, a Hydro Cannon against that Azumarill before they can reach another charge move, we should be in a very good spot. Scorching Sands ends up knocking us out here. I am completely dry on our Gator. They are going to throw a charge move. I think the worst case scenario is a Scorching Sands debuff coming through right now. Our opponent actually opting for a Fire Punch, a cheaper charge move, but no chance at a debuff. They try to make that catch. If they would have debuffed us here, potentially this Hydro Cannon might not knock out, and they might be able to throw their Play Rough that they have, but because I don't get debuffed here, we knock out the Azumarill. We are going to be able to outpace this Diggersby once again to a charge move, and Shadow Gator able to pick up an endgame sweep here, barely overcoming these matchups and getting the win for us in this game. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, what are we going to see our Diggersby off against? It's going to be the Mirror, another matchup here that we've seen a lot of today. Once again, gonna hope that I don't get debuffed very early on. I find getting debuffed on the second charge move. I'd love to win CMP, but no, it looks like they do end up winning it this time. This is almost certainly gonna be a Scorching Sands. It could be a Fire Punch bait if they're absolutely crazy, but yeah, there's literally no reason for me to shield that, so no reason for them to bait. Scorching Sands is gonna come through from my side. No debuff from them, no debuff from me, so it's just kind of playing out pretty neutrally right now. I am gonna try to once again win CMP just in case it's a coin flip, but no, it looks like it is pretty consistently for them that they are winning the CMP. This Scorching Sands is gonna do quite a bit of damage, and this time they do get the debuff against us. It is a little bit awkward. If we won CMP, I could go for another Scorching Sands here, put them pretty low. Now, because I know I lose CMP, and I know that Fire Punch after debuff is going to do nothing to them, I'm actually going to hard swap out to our Shadow Feraligatr, throw this Hydro Cannon, and for some reason they haven't swapped out just yet. They must not have a hard answer to our Gator right now. They end up CMPing us here. I'm going to shield this up, knowing that if I can keep our Gator alive, it normally is a very good thing, and depending on what they have in the backline, we should be in a decent spot. It looks like they're going to come in with an Annihilate here. We have Shadow Claw, we have Hydro Cannon. This is going to do a lot of damage to them right now if they end up letting it go, and if we get a shield here, then I see a prime opportunity to come in with our Corsola, go for a full Astonish down, shield once on their boosted Rage Fist, and have so much energy for the backline. We've already whittled down that Diggersby quite a bit, so at this point, I'm not that worried about Diggersby. I just want to have some energy on our Corsola so I can threaten it with a knockout, and once Diggersby is out of the way, I'm hoping that Corsola can clean up the backline. We still have a little bit of our Diggersby of our own as well in case we need it. What is going to come in here to try to finish us off? Our opponent waiting for just a second here, not quite sure what to do. What are they about to bring into us? Looks like it's going to be their Diggersby. Smart play on their side. I'm going to go for this Power Gem on good timing, see what they want to do. This should knock them out or come close to it. Actually, that not even close. It's still a resisted Power Gem, I guess, from two very bulky Pokemon going back and forth here. And so I don't know if this is quite going to be a range where I can Astonish down, but I'm going to have to try to. I feel like that's going to be our win condition. Our opponent opts to swap out, though, into their Corsola. This is fantastic. I have my Corsola that can either go for two Nightshades or force them to throw energy, and then I think our Diggersby can actually close out this game for us right now. We go for the Nightshade here. We win CMP. I'm just using a Hatch IV's course, so I think it's like a 12-15-15. So winning CMP is actually kind of crucial here. And now we can swap out Quick Attack down the Diggersby and take the win there. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, going to see a Shadow Drifblim in the lead. Very awkward lead matchup, but we do have a lot of neutral play into this. The thing is, Diggersby, especially after the Fire Punch buff, is not all that terrible into this matchup, and especially if I can get a Shadow Claw or an Astonish onto this thing later on, then it's almost in range where two non-debuffed Fire Punches could end up two-shotting. As you can see, already almost putting them to half health. Our Quick Attack's obviously doing almost nothing here. This Icy Wind is going to do quite a bit of damage to our Diggersby, but I can swap out now, clear that debuff, get two Shadow Claws off, and put them below half health, and now our Diggersby is in a very good position where I'm pretty sure we can deal with that Drifblim later on if we have to. They opt to come in, though, with a Diggersby into our Energy Advantage Shadow Feraligatr. That is by no means an answer here to our Feraligatr. We land a Hydro Cannon, and they end up CMPing us here on the next one. This is looking amazing for us right now. Our Shadow Feraligatr has done what it needs to do. Their Diggersby is basically going to be neutralized to where even our Corsola could take it out at this point, but we also just have our Diggersby that we can bring back in and potentially go for a Fire Punch or a Scorching Sands to knock them out later on. Our opponent gets a full Quick Attack down. A little bit scary there, because now they'll have a lot of energy to throw into our Diggersby, but I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot as long as we can take out this bunny. In comes that Scorching Sands, ends up not debuffing us here, fortunately. I'm going to go for a Fire Punch, our opponent opting to stay in for just a second. If this knocks out, then I'm going to be in a good spot. If not, I might try to catch the move on our Corsola. This is only going to be a Fire Punch at this point, I'm almost certain. And if this is a Fire Punch, it's going to do almost nothing to us right now. Fire Punch does come through, gets about 10% of our health left over. But the thing is, if they come in with this Drip One, they are going to be able to debuff us. I know for a fact this is going to be an Icy Wind, but I can still shield this, farm them all the way down, and have a lot of energy on Corsola, potentially clear my debuff later on this game with our Diggersby, and I still have my Diggersby with some energy on it as well. And the backline going to be a Shadow Quagsire, a bit of an awkward Pokemon to see, but I think we're in a decent spot just because we have so much energy, and despite the fact that we're debuffed, look at how much damage we're still doing with the Nightshade and with the Astonish. If they don't end up shielding this, we can farm them down. If they do shield, I can swap out, go for a Scorching Sands against this with our Diggersby. We are almost at it, wait the turn, make sure a Mudshot comes through, knock out this Shadow Quagsire with this Scorching Sands, and now our Diggersby should be able to quick attack everything down this game and take the victory in this match. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next game, what are we going to see? Diggersby up against a Jumpluff. Alright, one of the more awkward leads that we can really see here. I'm going to just stay in, go for Fire Punch. You're going to see this matchup isn't all that bad, especially because of how slow they are to reaching charge moves, and the fact that they have no fast move pressure against us, running Fairy Wind as their fast attack. Fire Punch going to come through, put them at about 60% HP. We can reach another one here, but not before they're going to throw an Energy Ball. They need 2, though, to knock us out, so I'm not all that concerned about this damage right now. Energy Ball ends up landing against us, does quite a bit of our health, but we are still well outside of the red health range. Our Diggersby could have quite a bit of use later on this matchup. Fire Punch going to come through, once again, almost putting them into the red, and now I can either shield if I want to get the next Fire Punch off, or potentially let it go and farm down with something in the back line, but I feel like Diggersby is going to have some use in the back with the way that they are playing out this matchup, so I'm going to shield this up, throw the next Fire Punch before they can air release us and go and try to take either a shield or a knockout against this grass type. There we go, Diggersby taking out the flying type Pokemon, but what are they going to come in with right now? That's always going to be the big question. They actually come in with a very awkward Pokemon. They have their own Diggersby in the back, which is not a pick that I have a very good counter to in the back. I have my Shadow Feraligatr that might be able to work against this, but the thing is, if we don't even get a debuff here, I don't know what we're going to do if they farm us all the way down, or if they just have 100 energy and then throw a Fire Punch against us. This is going to be very hard to overcome, depending on their final Pokemon in this game. Scorching Sands number 2 comes through. Once again, no debuff, unfortunately. Our opponent likely can just go for a Fire Punch, maybe even undercharge it and quick attack us all the way down. They do opt for a Fire Punch, and they are going to get a couple of extra quick attacks of energy. This is looking bad. We have no fast move pressure against this Diggersby whatsoever. We haven't even seen the final Pokemon in this game. If it's going to be anything that is useful with a shield advantage, we're probably just going to lose this match on the spot. They also have a second Scorching Sands already ready to go. Before I can Hydro Cannon them here, I have to shield it up, and in comes their final Pokemon, a Shadow Typhlosion. That is not looking good. I think despite having a Water type and a Pokemon with a Rock type move in the back, them having 2 shield advantage here and potentially Blast Burn and Thunder Punch is just going to make it so we are easily going to lose this matchup. Our Astonishes are adding up here, but these Incinerates and this Blast Burn is going to be more than enough to take us out here, and then a Thunder Punch is going to be loaded very soon to take out our Shadow Gator. So GG's to our opponent. Very well played. All right, next matchup. Yet another Jumpluff in the lead. Maybe we can get some redemption here. I'm going to try our best to whittle this thing down. Maybe I don't want to go down Shield Seal this time, knowing that they could have a super in the backline. Shadow Typhlosion kind of giving me PTSD right now, but this Fire Punch should do enough to chip them down to a range where it's a lot more manageable later on this matchup. They can never just hard win this, and that's what I love about Diggersby. After the Fire Punch buff, and the fact that you run Quick Attack rather than Mudshot nowadays, makes it so these grass types, despite being type effective into you, you aren't that bad into them. You outpace a lot of them to these Fire Punches before they get to 2 charge moves, and you are so bulky that a lot of the time, even against like Superior, you can live 1 charge move, get to 2 charge attacks of your own, maybe even draw a shield or threaten a knockout against the grass types in the lower shielding scenarios. Next Energy Ball comes through. This time I'm just going to let it go and be fine getting this thing chipped down as much as we have. Our opponent actually opts to throw a little bit early. I'm almost certain that's just going to be an air release. I'm going to no-shield it, shield the next one, farm all the way down, and have all of this energy on a Shadow Feraligatr. This time I'm feeling a lot more confident about our place in this game. I have almost 100 energy on a Shadow Gator. We've taken out their grass type. I should be in a good spot depending on their backline. They opt to come in with a Mud Slapper here. The Gastrodon, one of the scariest Pokemon that we could really see, because not only do they survive a Hydro Cannon, but they have a lot of fast move pressure, so they are going to be able to leverage the shield advantage to quite a bit of effect right now. The next Hydro Cannon is going to come through here. What are they going to do? They opt to shield that up, and now I will be able to CMP them, or if they want, they can catch on their own Feraligatr. I don't see if that's Shadow or not. Let's see what kind of Gator it's going to be. It is a Shadow, so despite them getting that catch here, I'm actually kind of fine with that. That's is a lot of damage to get against them, right? I think I can go for a a 1 shield full on Astonish down, have 2 Nightshades to go against that Gastrodon later on this game. I should be able to win this one as long as Gastrodon's Mud Slaps and Earth Powers aren't going to be quite enough to knock us out. They end up coming in here with their Gastrodon. They do have the Earth Power now, but I have 2 Nightshades, and I'm well outside of range where an Earth Power is going to knock us out. Nightshade number 1 ends up getting shielded. Do they end up knocking us out with this Earth Power? I'm almost certain that we can survive this, get the second Nightshade off, and take out this Gastrodon. Yeah, not even close. Another Mudsap would not even be enough to knock us out there. We are able to take the win with Galarian Corsola bulking its way through the backline. GG's to our opponent. All right, next game, we're going to see Diggersby. I guess another Diggersby mirror. Seems like this is the day of Diggersby. Everyone is using it in the lead right now, so I guess anyone leading a Galarian Corsola would be kind of sad. Anyone leading a Nihilate would be in a very good spot. They are going to throw a charge move. Once again, we do lose CMP. It seems like it's more often than not that I am losing these CMPs, unfortunately, which is kind of annoying in a matchup where getting that first debuff is very important. Scorching Sands ends up landing. Once again, no debuff here. I'm kind of fine if no debuffs happen on either side. I'm very happy playing out this matchup and just getting as much neutral damage as I can against this ground and normal type Pokemon before we are able to get knocked out ourselves. Once again, no debuff from our opponent into us. Can I get a debuff? I mean, at this point, it's going to be the 4th one thrown. Statistically, at least one of these should have got a debuff by now. But no debuffs here. I'm going to opt for the Fire Punch, put them into range where I can fast move farm them down with our backline, and see how our opponent wants to play out this matchup. Fire Punch ends up coming through, puts them pretty low. They're likely going to go for a Scorching Sands here and knock us out. But if they go for a Fire Punch for some reason, we're actually going to go for a Simul KO. Our opponent does opt for the Fire Punch, and honestly, at this point, we just quick attack each other down. That's fine with me. I guess it's a very, very even lead matchup there. Depending on the backline, I know that once that Diggersby is out of the way, Corsola is going to be pretty safe. So if I go and call the wrong thing, I can safe swap to my Corsola here. It looks like I did make the wrong call. They came in with a Goodra against our Shadow Feraligatr. So I ended up instantly swapping out to our Corsola, where they go for a Thunder Punch. And now I know this Nightshade and this Astonish damage is going to be able to basically neutralize this Goodra for the later parts of this game. If they end up letting it go, we can probably Shadow Claw them down. Nightshade ends up landing, not quite knocking them out here. And they come in with their final Pokemon, going to be a Drifblim. This is going to be a close race to the finish right now. I know I have the Nightshade that can draw a shield. These Astonishes as well are going to chunk them down pretty low to the point where maybe I can Shadow Claw this down, but Icy Winds are going to start slowing down my damage quite a bit right now, which can be very scary for a backline matchup against that Goodra potentially. I'm going to throw a Hydro Cannon here after one more Shadow Claw, knowing that if they don't shield this, then I can just go and shield once, Shadow Claw down the Goodra. If they do shield it, then I can Shadow Claw down this Pokemon and go for a Hydro Cannon against Goodra. Our opponent opts to no shield. I think at this point, we win the fast move pressure race, Shadow Claw down the Goodra, and take the win there. GG's to our opponent. Yet another positive set here. Going to close out the day very high up on the leaderboard, actually. We ended up climbing with 5 positive sets, 2799, not quite enough to reach the 2800s here. That was a 3-2 set. We gained, like, literally 2 points from that. So, I mean, if that was, like, a regular set, we would easily be in the 2800s right now. But a lot of down pairs, not too many people up this high right now in the Go Battle League. But this team worked wonders and got me to expert, so that's all I can really ask for right now. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles live basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is in the description. Also, I'm going to be uploading a lot more to the channel, so if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.